my hair is kind of crazy today.
I smell like clean.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Susan running around.
Back into the Wally world. All right, thank you for listening to another speech today. I'm going to start with painting a picture. There is a mom, and she is holding her newborn baby in her arms. And as she looks at his sweet face, she thinks to herself and promises him, I will do everything in my power to ensure that you are a happy, healthy, and successful young man. So fast forward 5 years. He is ready to start school. And as parents, when we think about success, education plays a huge role. Let's be honest, education is the key to success. So when we are looking at starting education for our children, we have a lot of different options. We have public school, we have private school, we have charters, and we have homeschooling. Homeschooling finds itself shrouded in controversy. Let's be honest, we've all heard rumors about homeschooled children. But today I'd like to argue that it is a valuable option for education. So we're going to look at the definition, at its historical significance, and why it's a valuable option for American families today. So before we explore, let's look at what the definition of homeschooling is. So by Education Commissions of the State, 2014, it says homeschooling is an alternative form of education in which parents or guardians bypass the public school system and teach their children at home. But now that we know what it is, let's look at the historical significance. Homeschooling has been around for a long time. It's nothing new. It is just a continuance of Americans' educational roots. It started in colonial times. Parents were the educators. They were the ones who taught their kids the basic skills of math, reading, writing. It was up to them. They had the authority to decide what was important. It was seen as important. It was children of all ages, of all classes and socioeconomic backgrounds who were homeschooled. However, that changed. In the Industrial Revolution, public schools came to be. So the first law, 1852 in Massachusetts, where children were required to go to public school. The practicality of public education alleviated the need for homeschooling. But it wasn't because it wasn't valuable, it was just parents were now in the workplace and they needed someone to educate their children. It actually was outlawed for a small period of time. They did make some exceptions for those who were out in rural areas or for children who were actors, but primarily you weren't allowed to do it. It reemerged in the 20th century. So now we know a little of the historical significance that is nothing new. We want to look at why is it valuable today. So it's valuable today because you can tailor make the curriculum for a child who is homeschooled. You can take a curriculum from this product and from this product and combine them if you need to. You can offer a curriculum for a child who is maybe advanced or gifted, who may need something above their grade level. You can also pick a curriculum for a child who maybe has special needs or to spend more time with a curriculum to master necessary skills before they move on. Additionally, you can focus on curriculum in a certain area. So if your child has a heightened interest in, let's say, science, you may choose a curriculum that spends a lot of time in that content area. As educators, for children who have specific interests, if you can really key into that interest, they become engaged learners and more authentic learning occurs. You can do personalized instructions. So let's be honest, the ratio would be a little different, maybe 1-to-1, maybe 4-to-1, depending on the size of the family. Also, you can instruct your child based on their learning styles. So maybe they're kinesthetic learners, or visual, or audio, or maybe they look at mathematics to learn things. You can instruct your child in the way that they learn best. You are not pigeonholed to a specific curriculum or learning style that you may find in public or private or even charter. So a biggie is homeschooling can predominantly offer a safer learning environment. We know we have all heard about some of the tragic stories, Columbine, Sandy Hook, there are a lot more out there. But it's a concern as a parent, safety is a huge concern. I want to make sure when my children leave my house that they're safe. So those who homeschool have a little bit more control over what goes on in their house. They might be able to protect them more from drugs, gun violence, and negative peer pressure. In 2013, the National Center for Education Statistics, NCES, which is a government survey, showed that there is a concern over the declining school environment, and it was one of the predominant reasons that families decided to homeschool. So now we know some of the valuable options that parents can choose to homeschool their children. You may say, well, what about academics? I mean, really, does it hold up? Can you have academic excellence if you homeschool? I'm here to say that you can. Based on the research that I conducted, it showed that homeschooled children outperform publicly educated peers in their standardized testing. So homeschoolers on to college, what research shows us, which was written in 2004 by Dr. Brian Ray, states that homeschooled children scored at the 65th to the 80th percentile compared to 50% of their publicly educated peers. Additionally, in that same year, the Iowa Test of Basic Skills released that 80% of kids of all ages who were homeschooled produced above average scores. To me, that's pretty significant. Additionally, Dr. Brian Ray talks about the SAT and the ACT scores, that homeschool kids tend to outperform those who are publicly educated. However, I take those results with a grain of salt because you can't adequately compare those results. We don't know if those children have been homeschooled from K through 12, or maybe it was 3 years of homeschool versus 3 of public and 5 of private. We don't know those things. So whereas it may be true that they outperform, we don't know how long they were homeschooled compared to others. So some proof that we're seeing some changes in the value of this option is there's been a huge increase of students who are now homeschooled. The same survey, the NCES, by the government, found in 2013 that 1.7 million students are homeschooled. If you compare that to 2008, the results showed 1.5. Furthermore, in that same survey by NCES 2008, it showed that from 1999 to 2007, there was a 74% increase over the 8-year period. That's pretty huge. Additionally, Homeschooling League Defense Association website of 2014 said that on annual, they are seeing a 7 to 15% increase in families who choose to homeschool. However, you're saying, okay, that's kind of a big range. Why is it so big? Each state is different on how they compute their numbers. Some states, you don't even have to write into the state to tell them that you're homeschooling. Texas, you don't even have to declare it. So that's a state by state, so that's why you're seeing such a huge range. So if you want to get good hardcore numbers, you want to look at that federal survey. We are seeing a big difference in demographics, which means the diversity of families that are choosing homeschool, it's huge. There's a critical change that's happening. The needs are different. In 2013, the NCES survey showed that Caucasian families still showed the largest percent. However, Hispanic families now comprise 2.3%. That's up from 0.7 in 2008. African American families increased 0.7 in that same time period. And the Asian and the Pacificer families showed 2.3, and in 2008, that wasn't even a category. So we're seeing big changes. There are more and more families that are turning to this educational option. It just doesn't work for their family to do public or private or charter. So in conclusion, I would say that we hear the rumors, we hear the children, well, are they really social? They don't have any friends, or their curriculum, how does it match up with the standards public or private school children have to? But based on the research that I found, they are academically successful. So sure, there's going to be a small majority of families that maybe are not sticking with the curriculum or not looking at the state standards, but the families that have chosen to homeschool have done a lot of research, and they are invested in the success of their children's education, just like that mom that we talked about in the beginning. So therefore, I think that when we come to a family who says, no, I homeschool, maybe we shouldn't be so quick to judge. Maybe we should think, well, maybe that is a viable option. Is it for everybody? No. As parents, you have to choose what's the best for your children. But I think it's an option that should be available for American families. There's a lot of value there. And that way we can meet the needs of all of our children here in the United States. I'd like to leave you with a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "There is no school equal to a decent home, and no teacher equal to a virtuous parent." Thank you.